Welcome to the Big Time Journey. Another episode of the Big Time Journey, and I know it's been a while. It's been a minute. I know it's been a long while since we sat down and talked. Life happens, things happen. Sometimes it just takes the right time, right place. Come together, have a conversation. You ever played the game Operator? Remember that game as a kid? Where you would stand in some line, somebody would whisper something into the first person's ears, and that story would get passed down all the way to the very end. Once it got to the end, it seemed that that story didn't necessarily match the story that started at the beginning because of communication, but because of comprehension. It can be hard to say, because what person one says to person two and how person two translates that or hears what they think they hear and how they communicate that to the next person, and on and on and on. But you learn from this game the idea that communication is key, comprehension is important. Sometimes it's better to go to the source than a third or a fourth source. Sometimes you have to let the actual source be the answer to the question you have. Operator is an interesting game. I think somewhere we forget what the purpose of that whole game is. But get into a situation where you're wondering what somebody may be saying. Going to somebody else and asking, hey, what does this mean? Isn't necessarily going to give you the information you want. Plus, you send somebody else to go possibly get the information from the first source. The way they understand, comprehend, translate the information may not be the same information that was generally put out by the person that has the information. It's key to go to the person that you want the information from, not everybody else. Maybe that's recent events in life have taken a turn left or right. Sanity, craziness, chaos, drama. I realize as I get older that sometimes you gotta cut drama out. I want to have drama. I want to do a whole lot of drama. Especially drama that's not my drama. Why do I want to dig and dance in drama? Sometimes in those choices, we set boundaries, when we set, these are our limits. These are the things we're willing to accept, and these are the things we're not willing to. And so with those things, boundaries. And the key to setting boundaries is to stay in those boundaries that we've set. Because we don't maintain our boundaries, so what the purpose of the boundaries anyways? And any time we set boundaries and let people walk over those boundaries, then we pretty much defeated those boundaries. And if we deleted those boundaries, just to step over those boundaries, continue to abuse those boundaries because they know they've done it before, and until we stand up, say no more, then our boundaries are meaningless. Boundaries are a key aspect in life to understand how far we are able to. Part of boundaries are what are comfortable boundaries for us, the person, what we are comfortable, whether it be in a physical, emotional, mental, where we are comfortable, what zones, what places we're willing to go before we reach that level of uncomfortability that we do not want to continue. Some boundaries we have to set with people, that we have to set a boundary that they're not allowed to come beyond, whether it's past behavior, choices they made, or past affliction, past abuse, past situations that occurred that we just do not want to be faced with. Set boundaries. Some of us set boundaries with our jobs. What is our limit? How far will we go We're like, no, I'm not doing this. Boundaries are key to being successful. Now, I haven't always had the best boundaries. I always haven't had a healthy boundary. Also, I haven't always known how to set boundaries and stand on boundaries. But over time, I've learned and understand when to maintain boundaries and why boundaries are so crucial. A lot of times I feel people with families put aside our boundaries. Sometimes it's even with our own kids. Maybe it's our siblings. Family. And I get that people in the idea that the family is family. And since I have not had the most healthy relationship with family, I may be more detached than others. So I know a lot of people believe that you do anything for family. You're always there for family, regardless of what happens. Family. At some point, even with family, you have to choose what's the limit. How many times do you let them step over? How many times do you let them take advantage? How many times do you give in? How many times do you let the same thing happen? Maybe it's not the same situation, but how many times do you allow that person to overstep your boundaries, even if it's uncomfortable, or that upsets you, that triggers others? Sometimes we have to step back and go, you know what, I have to set a boundary. Not only because it's healthy for you, but setting a boundary for that person. They see that you don't have boundaries and they continue to abuse that, step over those boundaries, take advantage of you, or put you into. They have no respect for your boundaries and they have no respect for you. Then you have to decide if you're going to continue that boundary, or if you're going to continue that behavior, if you're going to be like, no, we're not doing this. I love you, family, but you need to take care of these, make these, whatever the issue may be. Because setting boundaries with them is not only healthy for you, but also sets boundaries with them where they learn to possibly set boundaries with themselves. Plus, the fact of the matter, they're going to have to figure a different way of doing things. They can't keep coming back to you. Take it back. And it's easy. I understand. Family is hard to set boundaries. Feel guilty. Family can make you feel very guilty. And if they know how to play that card against you, they will do it every time. And it feel like it's suckering some and they're going to be upset. But at the end of the day, again, the biggest key to all of this is we have control over one person only. Now we think we can think we have control over other people. Other people might submit to us, and other people might allow us to have control, or at least perceived control. The idea that we can tell other people what to do and they follow it. I mean, that in a way is control, but it's mostly a perceived control, because in the end of the day, the only person we have true control over is ourselves, and that's what I think we forget. We can't control or make anybody do anything they don't want to do. We can't direct anybody down a path that they don't choose to go down themselves. You can lead the horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. You can teach a man to fish, but you cannot make him a fisherman. The choices come in this aspect that we can only do so much. And if people do not choose to change behavior or choose to do different things differently, or make other choices, period, we cannot make them make those choices. We cannot change them. We can show them ways to change. We can show them how to grow. We can teach them even how to grow. We can show them why their pattern of behavior, their choices that they're making are not good choices. But at the end of the day, it is on those people, that person, to decide what choices they're going to make, and it is on them that their choices are there. And whatever consequences, good or bad, because we solely put consequence on a negative aspect, because we always feel like consequence is going to come with a negative aspect, but truly consequences can be both positive. There's a consequence for action. Key is to realize we only have control over ourselves, and that we only have control over ourselves, so we have to put ourselves in control over our lives, and what comes into our lives, out of our lives, be allowed to happen in our lives, but we do not accept in our lives, in our environment that we exist in. And that environment can be as big as we choose it to be. We have choices on how far we want to go out every day. We have choices of where we want to go, where we want to sit, and who we want to be around. We have choices of how many people we want to be around in one day. Simply meaning, we can choose to go to Walmart and shop in a busy store and be around a lot of people and accept the fact that we chose to go into this or chose that this place is probably going to be crowded, probably going to be hectic. It's kind of probably have the cashier line a mile long. Self checkout's probably not going to work. The machine's going to yell at you because you removed an item off the scale, whatever it is. But that's a choice. Or we can choose to go to the smaller market. That might not be as busy. We can choose to go shop at Target. We can go choose to shop at a mall. All of these things are going to have different variants to them. And those variants we have to accept because we have made the choice to put ourselves in these places and exist in them. If we don't want to do any of that, we can choose to stay home, isolated in a house. Now, that choice comes with consequence of possible isolation, antisocial. For everybody, maybe not. It can be antisocial. It could be a choice. We could be very social, but also like the isolation away from people because we have a tolerance. You know what that tolerance level is, and understanding the tolerance of levels for things we have, and understanding when we reach those points that we have to make a choice of what we're going to, are we going to continue to push ourselves beyond that point, beyond that threshold, and knowing that the consequences that can come because we allowed to get to that point and go beyond that point, or do we step back and go, no? Choices are a value aspect, and understanding that we have only control of ourselves helps you better understand yourselves, take better control of yourselves, and change things about yourself. Because then you realize I have control of myself, and only myself, that nobody can control me, nobody can dictate what I do, nobody can make the choice for me. I ultimately make the choice. Understand that, then you understand the freedom that you have and the ability to make changes. Now you can associate with people who may not like the choices you are making, as long as you're not hurting other people or hurting yourself or being a detriment to yourself and society as a whole. And it shouldn't matter what they do. Now, if somebody you love and you're in a partnership and you want to make choices, and they don't agree with your choices, they don't like the choices you're making, you have to choose that partnership, right partnership for you. Are you both on the same path, both on the same track, both headed in the right direction? Are your choices conflicting with one another's? Somebody who's trying to control you and dictate your life, and it's not the life I want to live. Are you choosing to exist in the relationship just to exist and be happy and maintain? Because take the easy way, because instead of existing and living in a life that could be abundant, not to take the opportunities to grow and develop. Choices are very relevant. Of course, in our choices, make choices. And then if we don't like the choices we make, we seem to find reasons to excuse the choices we make or justify the reasons. We choose to stay in relationships that might be unhealthy, but because you're just to deal with it, have some type of partnership, that we just stay in it, no matter how bad the relationship itself may be or how unhappy or unsatisfied we may be. See, again, understanding that choice and those decisions, we have to accept that we made that choice and we really don't have that room. You know, I was diagnosed with ADD at the very beginning, and Ritalin and all that fun stuff before ADHD came out. And I think people with ADD, ADHD, whatever we want to call it, understand that when you understand that you have this diagnosed handicap, this mental, whatever, that you understand that you're probably going to do things differently, or you're going to have a different attention span. And the key is you can either let that handicap, that mental, that ailment, whatever label you want to put on it, dictate our lives, or we control it. Meaning, if you're ADD or ADHD and you know what that means, you know the pattern of behavior that exists, that when you are doing something distracted, or something can happen over here and it can draw your attention away from what you're trying to focus on. Does that not mean that you have the responsibility to accept that, hey, this is what is my thing, this is my element, this is my handicap, and a handicap doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing, so don't take me saying handicap and put it in a spinning way of negativity. I'm just saying that when you accept that you have ADHD, and that when you're doing certain things, they focus on certain. You know that maybe if you have to work on a project or you have to focus your attention on one thing, that the most minimalist of distractions, maybe no distractions, maybe you have to shut yourself off from everything so you can focus and get done. But that then becomes a choice of saying, I accept responsibility. If I am, I know what my triggers are, and I know what to do, either avoid them or minimize them to the best of your ability so you can be successful. And it's the same with everybody. It doesn't matter what your element may be, understanding what those are and what those triggers are and knowing how to cope with them. The danger is when we allow those things to become an excuse for our behavior, our actions, justifying our reasons why we do things. Now, granted, I won't lie, I've justified my actions, reasons like this before. I can sit here and kind of make it make sense because I know how easy it is to say, well, my mother was this way, so it's just the way it is. My mother was a certain way and taught me toxic behaviors and created a toxic relationship that me to really have successful, I had to adjust what I had learned and what I thought were appropriate ways in a relationship. These are not appropriate. This is not an appropriate way to go about having a relationship. They're not appropriate traits in a relationship. Understanding those toxicities and why I chose to do things and then try to justify them instead of accept them and responsible, saying, you know what, yes, I was wrong. I made. They're my choices. They're my responsibility. Granted, having mental illness, having ailment, having whatever label on it, accepting that you may process everything differently. You have to understand that process and understand how you have to can be successful, not about negative things. Let's speak about the overthinker. You know you're an overthinker, and that when things come up, you are triggered to think about them far greater than maybe the normal person, or over obsess over them, and overthink them, and over process them. And let alone if you take that as an overthinker and put trauma in with that, a lot of times when you're an overthinker, automatically assume the word jump, worst conclusion. Now, you're an overthinker and you acknowledge you're an overthinker, then you should understand that you're an overthinker. Realize that you overthink things and that you have to take a different approach to things. Meaning, something happens and you get worried about whatever this thing happens, that you need to step back and go, okay, is this a real thing, or am I overanalyzing and blowing it into something that could be a way bigger thing than it needs? Where can I find answers, again, to the questions I may have that can help me sort out these? Self-talk, big thing. We have to learn to talk to ourselves when we get to those edge points. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Am I doing this because that's reality, or am I doing this because my brain, my mind, triggering events, making me go this direction, past behavior? You can have a mental illness, you can have a handicap, you can have an ailment, you can have these things that can hinder you from living what is quote unquote called a normal life. You have to accept that and understand that you have control over that. You may not have control in the sense of stopping it completely, but you do have the control of how you act to that. You can learn how to exist with your element, mental illness, whatever you want to call it. Meaning, if you're ADD, or ADHD, you should know that you have to focus on something, you have to do something, you have a task. Best that task, you need to make sure you have the ability to continuously focus on that task and minimize the things that might distract you, pull you away from that task, or get you lost in others. Overthinker, then you need to know yourself well enough to know that when you're overthinking things, that you have a process where you step back, take a deep breath, and really assess what is going on. Is it a reality, or is it something you're manifesting in your head? If you have toxic relationships, you have a pattern of finding toxic relationships, maybe sometimes you need to step back and go, is this the right relationship? I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah, I mean, these are the things that alcoholics, addiction have to process, knowing that I have an addiction. If I get around this, I'm liable to want to do it, and do it in great quantities to the level of obsession. They have to do things, help them overcome or change a path and directions. Things do not take control or dictate control of their life. I can be really bad at money, and I've had to teach myself how to be better with money, how to make sure I take care of paying my bills, and also assessing when I go to buy something, do I really need this? Is this a want, or is this a need? Is this a practical one? Is there really a benefit to it, or am I just wanting? Because I mean, even in splurging and overspending, we can find ourselves in a very deep hole in this perfect chaos that can blow up. Next thing you know, we can be putting ourselves in a real dangerous predicament, not assessing it right, and knowing that, hey, when I go out, I like to buy things, I like to spend money, and I want, but I don't have the means to afford my wants. And I have to go out with the mindset that I have to focus on what it is. Or I can go shopping, and then I have to stop sometimes. I might see this and I'm like, oh, this is really cool, I really want this. Then I have to put it into practicality. Is it a reasonable expense? Can I afford this expense? Can I afford to spend extra money? Is it within my budget? Is it within my confines? If I bought this now, will it hurt me later? Will I need this money? I don't know. And making those adjustments, making those small steps, I've made it a lot easier. I manage my way better. Not perfect. Still splurging. Have things that I go out there and I jump on them when I probably shouldn't. But the learning process. And I think the biggest thing for us humans, we have to understand that we're always growing. We have to allow ourselves opportunity to fail so we can come back later and be successful. We have to allow ourselves to fail so we can learn and grow, become better people. Nobody's going to know everything, and nobody is perfect. Now, I know there's one person out there who laugh at me and say, oh, no, I am. And no, sir, you're not. So, it's okay. But that is life. Sometimes the hardest thing in life is to slow everything down and take a step back from everything that's going on all the chaos. Pulling ourselves out of the middle of the chaos and assessing everything. Trying to figure out the right steps. This week sucked because I had to make some changes that I didn't really want to make. But at the end of the day, the combination, I had to make an assessment, decide that I didn't really want the drama that was created by others to influence my life. And though this person meant a great deal to me, and I adore their friendship, and I hope that they do their best. I hope they find their happiness. I hope they find their balance. At the end of the day, because of several little things, or things that one would say were red flags, my red flags in this, I was like, or strikes, whatever you want to use, but it's the idea of assessing a situation and going, okay, that's one thing that I can't agree with, or I can't get with. It's just not the right way to do it. Whatever that flag may be. Assessing those things. Eventually got to a point where there was a couple red flags I just couldn't agree with and couldn't justify overcoming. And see, that's the thing. when we put out flags or we put out strikes or whatever, how many do we put out before we stop justifying? How many times do we allow ourselves to justify the behavior and to continue action? How far do we go before we're like, no, I'm not going to justify this. No, I'm not going to allow this to happen. I'm not going to let you continue to take advantage. Now, the person I'm talking about didn't really take advantage of me. I'm talking in a general context of where we have boundaries and strikes and red flags and where these things are. And when do we say, sorry. Regardless of how we feel, who that person is to us, there comes a point in time we have to stand up and go, no, I can't continue this pattern of behavior for my sake, for my health, for my mental health, for my emotional health, for my emotional well-being, my mental well-being, for my overall health, because all those things are connected to one another. Sometimes we have to say no. And it sucks. And sometimes we have to make choices of letting people out of our lives because they're not bringing in things that are productive or better or, when somebody brings in chaos, when somebody brings extra drama into your life and you're just like, this is nuts. I don't want your drama. I am not a part of this drama. I did not create this. At some points we have to decide how much is too much. And this week I got somebody out of my life that I cared about, but they took something way out of context without coming to me. It really hurt because like if you felt this comment had that much to say about you or upset you, triggered you, or had that much weight to something, why did you not, as a friend, come to correct and discuss whatever it was as a person, as a friend, instead of rapidly jumping to a conclusion, making a decision that I felt was very one-sided, and then assessing that in my own way, coming to I didn't feel that I was valid, that I had any value in the relationship, and felt that I should have some value, that I should have some mutual value in this, that at least the common decency dictate, maybe not a full-on response, but some type of general response when in a discussion over a conflict. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, I chose my life, and it sucks. It really does. It's not something I want to out of fight, out of meanness, but it comes to a point that I don't want to deal with chaos. I don't feel it's right to be left in a place where I feel not valued, not appreciated in some context. And at the end of the day, it just became numerous things. A pattern that I've seen over many, many, many years that made me go, I just can't. No matter how much my heart would want something, no matter how much my heart wants to say this to a friend, no matter how much my heart aches, I had to make that choice. Free myself from burden that being laid upon me. And some of that was basically what I was laying upon myself by continuing relationship and realizing the healthy aspect was there. Now, this person I have no ill will to. I wish them the best. I want them to go happy. Now, my deep fear is regression of past behaviors, but not my life. I don't have control. They're going to choose. If they can find happiness in that, that's great. Don't live in the insanity. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's not going to change. Tiger cannot change its stripes. People only have control over themselves, who do not have control over anything else, and so they make the choices to change the pattern of behavior on their own. You can't do anything about it. You can suggest, you can direct, you can push them into a direction of hopeful change. At the end of the day, you don't have the control. Now, I have another friend that's been in a crisis situation that was put in a very bad situation, I feel. They were strong armed, and then they were strong armed by another person, and then when that person got fed up with what they did, now they went out of it. And that is bullshit. And that's why I say at some point, you have to do you, cut it off. It may be hard, but sometimes that they can't do for themselves, what you're doing for them. Are you really being a benefit, or are you really being a benefit to their lives, or are you just enabling them to exist? And I know about enabling because I've done it and I've used it to enable me, and it's wrong, and it creates that pattern of behavior and let somebody with you. At some point, you become an enabler. Enable them to choices because they know how to create the situation. Not an easy discussion. And I don't know if many people are going to like this video or the context of this video. And this isn't me, this big day. This isn't to point blame at anybody. It's a genuine conversation. Try to express what we need, because we have control of ourselves, and we're the only ones who have control. We have control over our feelings. Now, somebody can say something that hurts our feelings. We have control on how we act about that. See, that's the other aspect of what we have control over. Nobody can make us feel a certain way. Somebody can say something, but how we internalize and take it, react to it, that's on us. That's a big key. Start understanding that other people can't really get you upset. Other people can't really get you mad. People can do things that will irritate you. People can do things that'll make you feel mad. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's feeling that way. You're the one that's responding that way. You're the one that's letting whatever's going on. And I'm bad about it. When I get in traffic, I get angry. I let other people driving get to me. I have a low tolerance when it comes to traffic. I have a low tolerance when it comes to ignorance. But at the end of the day, I do have to accept responsibility for my anger and my frustration and how I appropriate. I have to accept that. I have a short when it comes to traffic. Now, I'm not out here screaming at people. I will scream in my car, cuss, and whatever I need to in the silence of my car. I'm not going to get out into a road rage and have a fight with somebody. But I also have to understand, I'm the only one mad. The dingus driving down the road who cut me off or did something stupid that triggered my emotional response to be pissed off, angry on me. I'm the one responding. I'm the one reacting. I'm the one that let it. That's the key. I let it trigger me. Amazing. I know that's really philosophically thinking there. I allowed that. Now people are going to say things that are mean. Upset. You're say things that are going to make you upset. They're going to make you cry. I'm not saying a response is wrong. I'm just saying you have to understand that your response is in your control. It really is. It doesn't feel like it in the moment sometimes because people, it's just in they just come at you and hurting and like, why would they say such evil? And that's wrong. I mean, people saying evil things really mean you trigger you. It's wrong. It doesn't justify their actions. Again, at the end of the day, understanding that your emotional reaction, your choice, your way of reacting, understanding that can really help you not react at certain points where people who are doing those things won't get a response because it's like, okay, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of upsetting me because I refuse to react to it because I know what you're doing to try to trigger me, get upset, and act out emotionally or get me upset and make a irrational choice based on emotions, satisfy whatever mission the other person has. And that is key. So if somebody is triggering you emotionally, knows your buttons, setting them off, and knows that you're what things to say or how to say them to trigger you, because those are the things that are going to upset you, which are going to make you react in whatever way they know, because that is massive manipulation. Key to go back and understand is you have control over your emotions. You have control of how you have control how to dictate. I'm not saying if somebody says something really mean to you, it's not going to hurt. It's not mean. It's not wrong. But what I'm saying is you have control of how far you let your emotions go with it. I'm not saying if somebody just punts the living dog shit out of you, that it's not going to hurt and that they're justified. It's wrong if they come and put hands on you. I'm not saying you don't have a right to feel mad, pissed off, angry, ready to fight back. But again, you still have control on how you react. You have control on how those emotions affect you. You have control over those emotions. Interesting thought. I think it's the biggest key. Understanding that you have control over those emotions. What you let affect you. I'm hurt. I'm pissed off because I know something that's irritating to me and affecting other people that I care about in my life, that are friends. And I'm hurt because I had to cut a friend out of my life, but for my betterment, my sanity. I didn't continue have the emotional response. It was triggering an emotional response that I didn't want in my life. I didn't want to feel that way. That continuing that relationship, that friendship, to continue that way. Sometimes people don't, sometimes people change. Sometimes they stay very much the same because they themselves don't understand who they are and what it takes to change. This has been an interesting conversation. I hope it's good. I hope you get you drop comments. I hope people will take this and digest it in a way that open-minded and accepting the idea of what many things came in. This is really about kind of the operator game. We're talking about, how things start and how they come to an end. How a message can be distorted from one end to another. How it's about going to the person in the very beginning with the information, so that's then it came down to when that operator game plays and the message gets distorted and people start reacting in different ways. What are you allowing into your life? What things are you allowing into your life? What are some of those things that you can put up and say, no, I'm not allowing that in my life. I'm not allowing this in my life. I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to allow you to manipulate me by using my emotions, my feelings, or using my triggers upset me to get what you want out of me. I am not going to submit to a relationship that creates an unhealthy environment. I am not going to continue to live in an environment that is complete insanity, where I feel like I keep doing this and it keeps winding up here. I keep trying to be successful, but I keep winding back up at the same point. And when you do that, you're in a definitive loop of insanity. At some point, you have to stop and go, why? Why is it this way? And what can you, as you, change about it? What you have control over that you can change that situation. And that's the other key. Realize we are only in control of ourselves and only have control. I hope you give this thumbs up. I know this is a longer context video. I've got about 40 minutes in here. I've rambled. I do it. I don't know if this channel's ever going to be anything. I don't know if anybody really listens. I don't know if anybody really appreciates any of this. That's fine. It's not even about appreciation. I think it's more of a therapeutic position that I put myself in. Where I ramble, talk about things, figure out my own self and my own mind. Getting a better understanding of these. I want to share that maybe somebody somewhere out there might find something in all of this that might help. I thank you for joining me on the Big Time journey. Please give a thumbs up. Drop a comment in the comment section. Tell me what you thought. Share your thoughts. Tell me if I should make more videos. And hopefully I'll talk to you again real soon. This is a big time journey. I'll see you on the next one. Or I'll talk to you